Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, original link to the video top of the description. My name's Connor if you're new. Hello. History Matters, this just came out today. This just came out this hour. So I won't be posting it today. I probably won't be posting it tomorrow. So Sunday. My name's Connor if you're new. Original link, top description. Did I already say that? I don't know. Why did Scotland and England unite? I feel pretty good today, which is nice. I've had a weird week. Let's learn. Oh, I know why. King, fourth and first, I forget.
What exactly?
Shoot. English history, guys, by the way, is freaking confusing. All right? I'm just going to say that. It is. I feel bad for I actually feel bad for you guys. Anyone watching from England or Great Britain, hello, which is according to my statistics about 49% of you are from Britain. I lost my train of thought. You have too many similarly sounding names in history, and I can't stand names. Dates are easier, okay? There's a linear path. Remembering dates, it can be a pain, but it's doable for me. You Mary, Anne, Mary, John, James, Charles, Ethelred, Ethelstan. It drives me freaking crazy, but I like the challenge. Let's go.
Had the nicest relationship. Scotland and England have not exactly had the nicest relationship throughout history. Centuries of warfare, hostile alliances, religious disputes and economic quarrels led to both nations absolutely despising each other. But as you'll know, the two countries united in 1707 to form the Kingdom of Great Britain. But given their rivalry, this raises an obvious question: why? Why did England and Scotland unite given how much they hated each other? In the late 16th century, England was ruled by Queen Elizabeth I, who famously didn't have any children. And in the end, she chose her cousin, King James VI of Scotland, to succeed her.
Okay, awesome. And this is the guy who went on to be James VI of Scotland and James I of England or something? Okay. Let's zone in, guys. I know these are short videos and you're not going to understand everything, but it helps me this way because I don't get overwhelmed. So, no buns in the oven. Goes
any children, and in the end she chose her cousin, King James VI of Scotland, to succeed her, primarily because he was Protestant and that was important. She died in 1603 and James VI of Scotland was thus crowned James I of England. He began his rule by declaring that he would unite England and Scotland into a single kingdom, but to put it bluntly, he failed miserably. The reason for this was that in both kingdoms there was a lot of resistance to unification. The Scottish were afraid that they'd be forgotten in favour of England's greater wealth, and the English were concerned that the new Scottish king would rule as an absolutist and make England a subject of the Scottish. James's successor, Charles I, was far too unpopular to attempt to unify.
Question, guys. Voice crack, great. Even if the paranoia on part of the English of being worried of being a Scottish vassal, even if those intentions were true that he had, James I, I mean, they're not strong enough to do that even if they wanted to, right? So isn't that just kind of a little too paranoid?
The subject of the Scottish. James's successor, Charles I, was far too unpopular to attempt to unify the states and was soon too busy having his head cut off to really give it a go. However, it was Oliver Cromwell, the Lord Protector of the new Republic, that managed to briefly unify these realms. He did this with some good old-fashioned force, and he created the Commonwealth of England. Of course, he would himself die, and the Commonwealth died shortly after him. And when the Stuart dynasty was restored, the realms were separated once more. Despite being politically independent again, Scotland's troubles were here to stay. The English Parliament passed laws which prevented foreign.
The Navigation Acts will only trade with ships manned by English crews. Scots aren't English, and so no trade for you. Enjoy selling things to the French.
Foreign ships from trading with the country. Furthermore, England's constant wars with Scotland's main trade.
Ever heard of impressment? Listen, British, you used to take American sailors and just like make them a part of your crew. How dare you?
prevented foreign ships from trading with the country. Furthermore, England's constant wars with Scotland's main trading partner slowed Scotland's economy down too. Fearing economic ruin, a group of Scottish nobles launched the Darien Scheme, a plan to colonise part of what's now Panama in Central America. The hope being that this new colony could be used as an overland route to trade between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The scheme was very expensive and required using a fifth of Scotland's total wealth at the time. A colony, New Edinburgh, was established here in 1698 and would stand the test of time.
No way! I had no idea.
For 2 whole years. It was at this point that disease and a Spanish blockade killed the colony, meaning all of the money was lost, thereby bankrupting many Scottish nobles. The Scottish had hoped that the English would open up trade to them to help them get some of the money back, but fun fact...
No. Just let me sneeze. Why do you tempt me to sneeze? Who am I talking to? Fun fact, no.
No. And thus, when Queen Anne took the throne, the Scottish Parliament passed the Security Act.
The Security Act, we're out, we're done, we're not friends, and we're going our own way. Good luck with that, Sophia. Good luck with that, Sophia, but she's not going to be our queen. The old pretender says he's available. Old pretender.
Which meant that the Scottish throne would go to whoever wasn't the monarch of England after Anne died. And Anne's ministers responded with the Alien Act. This made all Scots foreigners within England and importantly embargoed the country. But Anne promised to repeal this if Scotland merged with England. Getting support for this wasn't going to be easy, but the English had a trick up their sleeve.
Anne, is that the hot Anne? Or, well, I think she's attractive from her paintings. I don't know why. That's my historical crush. Sue me. The Anne. I think she might have been later on. I don't think it's the same Anne. My beloved.
Merged with England. Getting support for this wasn't going to be easy, but the English had a trick up their sleeve. Shameless bribery. And this was enough to get the 1707 Act of Union passed, against the overwhelming majority of Scottish people's wishes, by the way. And in spite of some rioting, the anti-British sentiment in Scotland didn't last too long, because 1, Scotland's church and legal system remained independent, and 2, martial law. And so with that, the kingdoms of Scotland and England ceased to exist, and instead a new nation, the United Kingdom of Great Britain, was born. I hope you enjoyed this episode with the
Okay.
last too long, because 1, Scotland's church and legal system remained independent, and 2, martial law. And so with that, the kingdoms of Scotland and England ceased to exist, and instead a new nation, the United Kingdom of Great Britain, was born.
Okay. So in the end, a sort of fairness and letting them have some autonomy in their courts, coupled with occupation of soldiers, led to the final result in finally a unified Britain. So this is Britain, right, guys? So this is this is England, this is Wales, this is Scotland, this is Ireland, Northern Ireland. These are all the British Isles. This and Northern Ireland is the United Kingdom. But is Britain just this and the British Isles? The Oliver Cromwell part, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry if you know, love you guys. The Oliver Cromwell part, I really just want to go over one more time.
Good old father led the states and was soon too busy. James's success, the new Scottish king would rule as an absolutist and make England a subject of the Scottish.
Yeah, how would
James's successor, Charles I, was far too unpopular to attempt to unify the states and was soon too busy having his head cut off to really give it a go.
You know what's so crazy? All right, I'm going on another tangent. Before I'm trying to learn before I finish learning what I wanted to learn by rewinding, is that English history and the British history is so long. English history is so long that you have giant events like big civil wars that are a one section of your history, whereas like our Civil War is one of like is huge in our history. And it just shows you, like, we're not even 250 years old yet. I think in 2 years, not next 4th of July, but the 4th of July after that, we will be officially 250 years old. Depending if you want to count the start of our country as our Declaration of Independence, or the final acknowledgement of the British that we were independent from them, which I think was in the mid 80s, like 1788, 6, 5. But the depth of your history is so crazy. And I guess that's part of the reason why American history is more manageable. Definitely one of the reasons. But you guys have these giant parts in your history, but because you have such a long history, they don't like take over your history. And that's one of the part that's, I think, makes it more difficult to learn about British history. Makes it more challenging, also more fun. But again, it has a lot to do with the similar names and things. I just got to sit down and memorize the chronological order of kings and queens of England.
However, it was Oliver Cromwell, the Lord Protector of the New Republic, that managed to briefly unify these realms. He did this with some good old-fashioned force, and he created the Commonwealth of England. Of course, he would himself...
Also, it shows you...
die, and the Commonwealth died shortly afterwards, and he...
I mean, that's what I wanted to go back to reaffirm, is how he did it. He did it through force. And the story of Oliver Cromwell, I think, is a great story to explain a concept I bring out in a lot of different videos, in that we need to criticize people, humans, and human nature, rather than individual historical figures. And the reason I say that, guys, is people who are not in power or are much less well off act differently compared to people, okay, humans, who have power. I'm not saying that everyone is equally just. I don't think that's true. But Oliver Cromwell is a classic example of, like, yeah, the king is horrible and the monarchy is terrible, and then you get rid of him, and now, all right, you're in charge. And now it's like, okay, now I want to hold on to this. Okay, my son, I'm the king now. Not that he blatantly said that at any point, I don't think, but he started acting like one. And I think that's a great lesson for humanity, that when it comes to historical bad events and good events, we need to criticize human beings and human nature, and not just individual countries or individual people. That becomes more true, I think, the further back in history that the further the point in history you're talking about is back in history. Obviously, if something is very recent or going on today, you need to talk about specific countries and specific people. But I think we make a mistake learning about history in blaming countries or people for bad things, rather than just realizing that given a situation and given a amount of power someone gets, humans tend to act very similarly. And I think pointing at countries and people rather than humans as a whole makes us less likely to point out other bad stuff that could happen. This might not make much sense to you if this is your first time hearing me say this concept, but yeah. Very interesting. Love you all. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm going to continue learning about English history, British history, until I know it perfectly. I was going to say as much as I know American history, but to be honest, that could use some work as well. Love you all. See you guys next time. Would appreciate any comments as always. Bye, guys.